Towns and villages represent tradition and the way things used to be. While cities grow fast and sometimes feel too busy, these small places let us slow down and remember the past. They help us connect with the customs and lives of our ancestors.
A village is nothing without its history, which is of course represented on their historic monuments and centers. Going back to them reminds us of a Spain we think belongs to the past, but that somehow always finds a way to come back.
These villages often seem boring or old-fashioned, but maybe that's exactly what makes them so special. In a world that's constantly rushing forward, and what we really need is what these places have managed to hold on to, and sometimes that is the way things used to be in these places.
Good morning and welcome to the Southern Times podcast, a space where we bring you stories from the small villages on the outskirts of Madrid. We give voice to their residents and we create a sense of community around each story. We will count every week with experts and journalists who lived firsthand the reality of these towns, and we will have a casual conversation with them. I'm Irene de Prosperi and I'm here with my co-hosts Jose Rubio and Eva Rodriguez, and in today's episode we will explore how history persists and conserves itself over the time in these towns through their structure or their storytelling of its residents. Grab a drink and get yourself comfortable. The Southern Time podcast begins.
With the growing affluence of globalization and the perseverance of individuality, the community of the village is something that more and more is getting lost. Because of this, many towns are becoming what are known as dormitory villages. This means that people who live there often only return home to sleep, spending most of their day elsewhere. As a result, they rarely take time to enjoy or even notice the local places that hold the village's history and charm, places that are often overlooked and forgotten. More and more, we overlook what's always been there. We see it as broken, abandoned, or simply not worth noticing. However, in many villages, people still fight so that their history does not go unnoticed.
For example, towns like Belmonte del Tajo maintain their church of Nuestra Señora de la Estrella as the great center of the entire town. This church dates back to the 16th century, and to this day, the one that keeps this iconic building alive are the residents of the town, who continue to value its history and importance and maintain the building.
Pablo Clark, one of our reporters of the Southern Times, had the opportunity to go to Belmonte del Tajo and see the beauty that the church still holds. This church dates back to the 16th century, and to this day, the ones that keep this iconic building alive are the residents of the town. Hello Pablo, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so Pablo, please, can you tell us what makes this church so important?
I think what makes this church the most important building in the town, apart from the fact that it has been open for over 5 centuries, is the fact that it is the main place of activities of the town. Like, everybody gets married, like people go to church every Sunday. And I think like the main economic focus of the town is in that church. I think loads of people go there almost every day, and also the fact that residents keep it together, you know. They work for it, they restore it themselves. It's not something to do with the local town hall or with the regional government. It's something that's entirely to do with the local residents.
And what is the general feeling in the town regarding this church? Is it something more collective? Is it only a few of the villagers?
It isn't. It is collective. I think if you ask anyone in that town, they will tell you that the church is probably the most important thing in it. I remember a story that one of the residents told me when I went there, is that they got married there over 45 years ago or over 50, I can't remember, but a very long time ago. And what they told me was that they go back in time. Every time they go in, it's like the day they got married. And they've also seen, you know, their kids get married, even in some cases their grandkids. So the main focus of the town is precisely that place. Yeah.
And how do they organize to like restore it and maintain the the church itself? Because if it's only from the villagers, like how do they do that?
As far as I know, there's a few group of people, really about 4 or 5 people who work there, and they try to restore it as best as they can. The last works that took place there were in 2003, the last official construction works. Well, that's over 20 years ago, so a very long time ago. But there are mainly 2 women who go there every day. They take care of the plants. They mop the floor, very basic stuff. But they try to keep the church in good state in case people from outside come, like was my case. I went there and the church was in a really good state. I wouldn't have guessed that the church hadn't been restored for 22 years, officially. So I think they do a pretty good job, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's not just about restoring the church, but also about keeping it alive with activities. So are they doing something? Are they organizing something to keep it alive in that sense?
They have a choir every Sunday after Mass. And the thing with that is that they don't have many younger people. So they are going to struggle in the future. And they told me that they were a bit scared about that because that they didn't have enough young people working. So right now it's only elderly people who maintain the choir, but they try and get younger people attracted to it so that the tradition passes on. But right now they are struggling a bit. Yeah.
So are they scared about, well, you've said it already, but about the future of the church, not only in the sense that the younger generation maybe are not so interested, but in the state and what the administration is going to do, things like that?
They are scared about who is going to look after it once they pass away, because obviously people they die. It's the natural cycle of life, and the next generation don't seem as interested in maintaining the church as this one that is right now. There's one girl who takes part in the choir. She's trying to get other people attracted, one young girl, but she hasn't been too successful so far. Maybe when they grow older they might cherish that place that they call home.
She lives there?
She lives in the town, and she goes to the choir every Sunday, but she's the only girl, so at times she refuses to go because she's the only one, so she feels quite alone. She tries to get other younger kids involved in the choir, but she hasn't been successful so far.
So, but she's the only girl or the only young?
The only young person.
Okay.
She's a girl. The only younger person.
Yeah. So it really talks about how
they've struggled to pass down the message.
Yeah. Even with all the restoring and all the activities, so.
Yeah, because it's quite a strong tradition in the village, and it feels like maybe there's miscommunication in a way, they want to trespass it to the younger, so.
I think they've just struggled to pass down the message. They gave it too much importance, and maybe when the 2 elderly women who spoke with me, they had been going since they were 30.
Yeah.
So maybe when they were 30 they didn't feel the need to pass down the message, but now they're 80, 90, and they're gonna leave soon, and they don't have someone to pass down that legacy.
Yeah, I mean, and also the activities that young people do now, they're different from before.
They're very different, yeah.
So maybe if you say to a young person to go to a church, maybe they're not gonna like it much.
They'll probably say no. In this case, it's only the girl that goes to choir. She's tried to convince other people, but for now she hasn't been too successful.
Well, we'll see what's the future for the church and the village, because it's something really, that it's not only local, but it's global too. It happens all around Spain and all around the world. Yeah. Thank you very much, Pablo.
Thank you for having me.
Coming.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
There are even towns that want to revitalize what was in the past and make something useful for their neighbors and promote tourism in their town. The castle of Torrejón de Velasco has been restored and opened to the public as a museum and visitors center. Luckily, Jose was there and he could tell us about it more.
Yeah, the Castle of Puño y Rostro is one of the most precious things of Torrejón de Velasco. The high tower and the construction itself dates back to the 15th century, and it's an icon of the town. Everyone there knows it or has some experience with it. And now the town waits, no, to enjoy this space that has been restored in order to become a place for leisure too.
But right now, is it mostly abandoned or is it in a good state?
Well, it was abandoned till just like a month ago, and in order to preserve it, the town has made like a great effort during decades, because the restoration has suffered several delays, and it has finally have like a cost of 1.5 million euros, and now it's open and people can enjoy it.
But we've seen that the delays were caused by a very special visitor, a bird in the risk of extinction.
Yeah.
In Torrejón de Velasco.
Actually, exactly. More or less once a year, a bird called like a lesser crested, which is like cernícalo de primilla in Spanish, okay? It's a very strange species and arrives to the Tower of Puñonrostro as part of its migration around the world, makes its nest there, and to protect it, like environmental authorities said to the city town hall that they have to stop the works at the castle every time the bird comes. So you know, every time the bird comes it stops, so it's like this over decades. So yeah,
so Puñonrostro is not only a castle for citizens, then it's more a zoo now.
Yeah, they have to share it with the bird, but the important thing is that what back then was only for a duke or, you know, for someone really privileged, now opens to the whole town and is restored to become a museum and a visitor center, and also a place for villagers to have leisure. But we find that another example of these historical places that connect with the residents is found in Colmenar del Arroyo, where Irene has been, and the neighbors in this town give a unique meaning and relevance to the Church of Nuestra Señora de la Asunción, and they share stories with it, right?
Yeah.
You had the chance to see with your very eyes how the church remains to be the center of the town in every sense.
Yeah, so when I visited Colmenar del Arroyo recently, I found this church, Nuestra Señora de la Asunción, and honestly, from outside, it looked like these small churches in the villages, in the outskirts of Madrid, so you wouldn't notice it. And then I started to talk with the locals, and every single person had the same story about the church. And for me, it's like a proof that history does not only live through buildings and through structures or churches in this case, but also through the storytelling of the citizens of the town.
It is something that often happens in the small towns. Stories carry the entire narrative and spirit of the place. What did the villagers tell you about this?
So the story that was repeating over and over was was that in the 16th century, King Philip II of Spain wanted to build El Escorial, that I think everyone knows. It's a monastery and in the outskirts of Madrid, to bury his father and to show Spain also his religious strength as well as military victories. So he ordered these big granite blocks were cracked, and they were not good enough, so they were left behind. And the people of Colmenar del Arroyo believed that these rejected stones were used to build the church Nuestra Señora de la Asunción in Colmenar del Arroyo.
It's interesting how something once discarded ended up becoming sacred in a different way.
Yes, it's like it gives this quiet strength, because also the residents were telling me, like also in the same as Pablo's church, how this small church is where they lived and they celebrated weddings, funerals, so it's like it's soaked with memories.
It's like the history is not just the stone, but in the voices of the people who remember it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the neighbors that tell you the same story his grandfather told them, and you can see the pride in their eyes. So it's like it's more than architecture. It's for them, it's identity.
Yeah, and it's really funny because it seems like it's like the small lost sister of El Escorial, and I think that's really beautiful. And maybe that's why they really appreciate it, because
It's something special.
Yeah,
it
for them
is.
it's really, really special.
These places hold the spirit of not only the towns and its history, but the spirit of its villagers, who with great effort and not much external investment, continue to keep the importance of the monuments going. The people are the ones who make sure that what is the actual identity of the town is never forgotten.
Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Southern Times podcast. See you next week where we will talk about traditions. Bye!
Bye bye.